Our story tonight takes us to Albuquerque, New Mexico for a tale of incredible heroism.
When Mark Kroom picked up his 4-month-old son at the babysitter's, he thought he was just heading home.
Actually, Mark and his son Christopher were heading into the midst of a flash flood and a day they'll never forget.
The storms of July 1982 were some of the worst they'd ever seen in Albuquerque. They downed power lines and crippled phone service. All of the city's arroyos were filled to capacity with rushing, muddy water. These special drainage canals were built for just this purpose, and now they were working overtime.
Rain was falling when Mark Kroom made his customary stop to pick up his 4-month-old son at the babysitter's. As he did every day, he carried Christopher out and placed him into the child car seat in the station wagon. Apart from the rain, it was all routine. Mark had driven this route dozens of times before with no problems. But that was when the arroyos weren't filled to overflowing with rain.
Today I was driving down the street, as every day I do. I came to the arroyo here and I stopped about right here and saw all the water running through it. It looked not like it was too deep, but I knew it would probably be rising more and more, so I decided to go ahead and put the vehicle in 4-wheel drive and proceed. I did do that, put it in 4-wheel drive, and I started to go through. And I made it to approximately here when I was hit by a head wave, and I turned to my right and I saw the water hit the window. Immediate terror hit me because I knew that I was in trouble. My first thought was to go ahead and jump out. I realized I had my baby with me, and that would be almost utterly impossible to get out with myself and my son. So I decided the best thing to do was just hang on and ride it out. And the next thing I knew, there was the TV station there, and they had thrown me a line and told me to tie it onto my steering wheel, which I proceeded to do. And I no more than tied it on my steering wheel when I started slipping again. At that time, I could see that it was not going to hold on the steering wheel because it was already starting to bend it.
Police and firemen were using the TV crew's truck to anchor the lifeline, but the force of the water was so great it started to pull the truck in. They rushed to keep it from plunging into the arroyo.
We didn't realize at that first minute there was a baby in the car, and when we realized that, I didn't think there was a chance in the world for them. I didn't think they had a chance.
Several of the firemen tried to get to the car, but it seemed hopeless. They were afraid they couldn't make it back to the bank with the child in their arms.
Further up the arroyo, a Jeep had been swept away. The waters were now carrying it on a collision course with Mark's car.
Now every second was critical. Again and again, firemen tried to wade through the onslaught. Again and again, they failed, and the Jeep got closer.
The water level kept rising and rising. In fact, I was sitting in water. I told the fireman he had to take my son. I was panicking. I knew we had to get out immediately.
Finally, one of the firemen made it. He carried Christopher from the car and passed him to high ground just before the water knocked him down.
The child was safe now. With his son out of the car, it was now time for Mark to try to save himself. The force of the water was too great to open the car door, so he climbed out the window and got to safety, just seconds before the Jeep swept in and collided with his wagon.
The Jeep strikes Mark's car, now totally engulfed by the raging current. If not for the rescuers, he and his son would have been inside.
I knew it was a moment of life or death. Had they not thrown me the tow rope and been able to tie it onto my steering wheel right away, I knew I would have been washed on down the arroyo, and our chances of surviving would have been real slim.
The next day, the rains were gone as quickly as they came. Mark's car was almost totally destroyed. Nearby was all that was left of the Jeep.
We had not caused the rescue to be effected that particular time. I do believe that we would have lost the father and the baby. The water was running that fast and that high.
The man who carried the child from the car was Fireman Carmen Gonzalez.
I'm glad that everything turned out okay. The baby was rescued, and I don't consider myself a hero. That's just part of the job.
I was very grateful to the Albuquerque Police Department and the fire department. They did a wonderful job of rescuing us. And I'll never go through that arroyo again when there's water in it.